Justin Gatlin, welcome to this edition of Extra Time. You went into the World Championships in Helsinki as Olympic champion. You came out of Helsinki as a double world champion. That sounds great, doesn't it?
It sounds really great.
I mean, did that exceed your expectations, do you think?
Not at all. It was part of my game plan coming in this year to be double gold world champion, to rack up the points with what I have Olympic champion, and hopefully I can do the same thing next year.
Sure. I mean, in terms of preparation for Helsinki, that would have been double the planning, double the strategy when you're preparing for two events like that?
But going into the World Championships, I felt like I was two elite athletes in one. I had to put in basically overtime.
Yes. So that's tough in your training schedule, in terms of your training schedule?
Yeah, most definitely. Training for the 100 and want to be the best in the 100 and the 200 as well.
I guess it kind of puts you up there alongside the Maurice Greens, doesn't it, the Michael Johnsons, double world and Olympic champions. Is that how you see it?
Right now, I really can't say that's exactly how I see it. I think I'm on the path, on the road to greatness, put myself in the history books, but I have a lot more to accomplish.
You're a very confident young man.
I try to be.
I mean, that's part of the psychology of being a sprinter, I guess, is it?
You have to. It's a thin line between cocky and confidence. You have to go out there with the mind frame that you're the best in the field and you're here to win.
Well, now that's a very interesting thing you say there about the thin line between cocky and confidence. How do you stay on the right side of that line?
Well, I always tell everybody that I let my feet do the talking, and my supporters, they're the ones who can brag and boast about all my accolades. I go out there, I run, and I get the job done.
Yes. Because American athletes in the past, let's face it, sprinters especially, have been rather, what should we say, big-headed, rather boorish sometimes about their attitudes. I mean, one thinks, for example, of the relay team in Sydney. That's not you, but you acknowledge that that's a negative for American athletics in the past, do you?
I think they like to be called self-promoters. You have to go out there. The name of the game is go out there and run fast, and run with class. Let everybody clap for your participation in track and field, not for your antics that you have afterwards.
Yeah, so it's all about what you do on the track. That's what counts effectively.
Most definitely. People will love you far after you finish running.
Tell me about the difference between 100 and 200. I mean, I think to the amateur eye, there's not that much of a difference apart from the fact, of course, that you're negotiating a bend in the 200 and you're not doing that in the 100. I mean, strategically and tactically, what are the differences there?
Myself, I like to put myself in a mind frame where I'm sort of a half-quarter miler if I'm going in there for the 200. I have to make my body feel light. I have to go out there feeling that halfway around the track is not far at all, compared to if I have a mind frame of 100 meters. 100 meters is not far at all for me. I have to go out there with strength, power, adrenaline, and instinct. 200 meters, you have to think, strategize, come off the turn.
There's time for that, isn't
there? Yeah, you have a lot of time for the 200. You have a lot of time to make mistakes and a lot of time to capitalize.
Do you think the 200 as an event gets the recognition that it deserves?
I don't think a lot of people have stepped up to their potential in the 200 to make it more recognizable.
For example?
You have so many people running sub-10s and 9.8s and 9.7s. You don't have that many people running, 19.8s, 19.7s. We need people to go into the sub-20s to make it more exciting.
Like Michael Johnson, for example.
Most definitely.
Yes.
He's a great athlete.
Yes. So in terms of the glamour, the event that has all the glamour has to be the 100, doesn't it? And I just wonder, that's because it produces effectively the fastest man in the world. That's the point, isn't it?
That's what people say. You blink, you're going to miss it.
Yeah.
It's fast. It's full of testosterone. It's raw. You have to go out there. It's a man's sport.
Well, there are women sprinters too.
Of course, but I mean in the 100 meter, men's 100 meters event.
Yeah. Let's take you back then to the track at Helsinki. Maybe even the build-up itself. Take us through that process and the tensions and the dramas, the way that you build yourself up for that explosive moment when the gun fires.
I had to go out there with a calm, cool head. You can't go out there thinking this is how it's going to be. I got to get really pumped up, because if you do, that's when you lose your technique, you lose your control of your whole race. I have to go out there calm, cool, and just run my race.
Do you notice the opponents around you?
I analyze my opponents. I really don't focus much on them. I know exactly who I'm in the race with, how they move, what's their weaknesses, and what's their strength. But other than that, I focus on my own race.
Do you have time to exploit those weaknesses in the build-up, for example? I mean, there's talk, in previous 100-meter sprinters, Linford Christie used to do it, didn't he? Eyeball his opponent, try and face him down, rather like a boxer might face an opponent down in the ring before a fight.
I think when I have a ceremonial walk, what I do right before I run, I'll walk 100 meters and I come back. Now, I don't know if my opponents are watching me or if it throws them off their game, but I have to go out there, focus on my lane. When you're totally focused on yourself, that's when you throw everybody off because they're wondering, wow, what is he going to do? Was he going to go out there and run very fast?
I was going to ask you about that walk. I mean, you've described it as a ceremonial walk. It's almost, as it were, taking the spoils of victory before the race. But, I mean, what's going on in your mind there, and what's the purpose of that?
Just preparing myself for a great race and preparing the crowd for a great race. I want them to see me. We run so fast and get through the race so fast that a lot of the crowd is not able to see what happens. So I want to go out there and feel the crowd and let the crowd feel me.
Well, take me then to the start gun and the atmosphere on the line as you're on the blocks. I mean, again, but at that point you must be in a kind of a bubble, aren't you?
You are. You want to go out there and have a blank mind when you get in the blocks. I like to break my race down. I don't want to think about 10 meters before the finish line if I'm in the starting blocks already. I got to think about getting out of the starting blocks, making sure my first 2 steps are strong, and it carries me through the race. So when I'm at the starting line, that's all I think about is my first 2 steps, everything else is blank in my head.
And then 9.88 seconds later, you're across the line. That moment must be a feeling of enormous exaltation, isn't it? World champion.
It is. It was a moment of relief.
Relief.
I was able to say that, to prove all the doubters wrong. Everyone who felt that my Olympic championship was a fluke, I came back and I showed them that I am a real champion.
Did you feel undervalued beforehand then, before the World Championships?
Honestly, not to say that I'm a poor person, but I felt not as respected as I should be throughout my whole professional career. I've always heard the tale, it's not your time right now. You're the future. But you have to go out and make your own time, and this is my time now.
Well, it's interesting you should say that, and that you should effectively give publicity to criticisms of yourself, because, I mean, the jury appears to still be out in the sense that, let me read you what Michael Johnson said. He said that it's not been a great year for the 100 metres, even though we've seen a world record. This, of course, is Asafa Powell's record. Gatlin is now the world and Olympic champion, but he's never really been tested. And that was after Helsinki. And yet, John Capel, a fellow sprinter, he's saying he's on his way to being the best ever. The only person I think that would be able to be in the same sentence with him is Maurice Green. So 2 divergent opinions there on your standing, if you like, in the world of sprinting now. You're clearly going to side more with your fellow sprinter Capel, aren't you?
I wouldn't say I'm going to side with either or. I take what Michael Johnson has said to heart for the simple fact because, yes, I can make myself better. And yes, I think that other athletes need to step up so I can be tested. It's hard going out there and running against the clock. You never can beat the clock, never. So you need a challenger. And much respect to John Capel for that gracious comment that he made to me because, he's also a competitor of mine with high qualities.
Well, of course, the world record holder, Asafa Powell, and his world record stands at 9.77. He wasn't running in the race, he was injured. You spoke afterwards, didn't you? What was said between you?
Congratulations. It's, I mean, to
I
us
think there
it's
was a little bit more
sport.
to it than that, wasn't there?
I mean, at this point in time, Asafa's not really in my mind. I have to go out there and make my own destiny.
Yes.
I can't ride the coattails of a world record. I have to go out there and win championships, and that's what I'm about.
Absolutely. But Powell, of course, said that he would have run the race if he'd been involved.
Woulda, coulda, shoulda. That's how I feel about it. If he was there, he might have won, but he wasn't there. It's my time now. That's what I'm doing.
How deep is the rivalry between the 2 of you?
I don't think it's rivalry at all. It's a gentleman's sport between us. We smile, we talk, we have conversation. No grudges. We want to go out there and make the sport exciting as possible.
Yes. You'd expect him, though, wouldn't you, to very jealously guard his record, his world record of 9.77. Can you get below that?
I hope so. That's what I'm working on now. Of course, we've seen that my second half of the race is obviously excellent. I want to make the first half of the race even better.
That's where the improvement can come for you, is it, off the blocks?
I think so.
Yes, yes. You once said that Asafa and I are the pioneers, and at the same time, we're the veterans. I wonder what you meant by that. Seemed to be kind of diametrically opposed statement in a sense.
We're the young guys,
Yeah.
but at the same time, right now, we're the front runners of the sprints in track and field. Everyone has their eyes on us and what we're going to do next. And it seems like we could take it down the wrong road, or we could take it down the right road. And right now, we're trying to take it on the right road and make it exciting and bring track and field back.
I just wanted to ask you one question about the value of winning in a World Championships, as you've done, and the value of holding a world record. You've talked about how you can't beat the clock. Which is the more valuable? Is it the name in the history books and getting below 9.77, or is it the gold medal that you hang around your neck in Athens and the World Championship from Helsinki?
I feel that records are meant to be broken. You know, it goes all the way back from Jesse Owens when he first broke a world record, and the next guy broke the world record after him. You know, records are meant to be broken. They will continue to be broken. You know, but you have to remember who won in 2000 Olympics. You know, who won in 96 Olympics. Those people have credits behind their name. You know, so when that record's long gone and we're in who knows what years in the future, will anybody remember when that record stood? But people remember who the champion is in 2004 and 2005.
I suppose, in a sense, you kill two birds with one stone by looking forward to Osaka or to Beijing in 2007 or 2008, making a world record in a major championships like the World Championships or the Olympics. That would do the trick, wouldn't it?
Most definitely.
Justin, let me read a quote to you from the International Herald Tribune, August the 16th of this year. You said, "I think we all have subconsciously taken on the responsibility of being not just a track athlete, but a spokesperson and a model for track and field throughout the United States. We need to bring the sport back and bring it back even stronger." Why is it worth it? Why is track and field worth fighting for in that sense?
It's what I love. You know, you're going to fight for something you love. That's what I love. I have to go out there and show people that every person that runs fast is not drugged up. Every person that runs fast is not cheating. And I know that I'm going out there and putting my heart in that track, and I want people to respect what I do because I respect others.
You're in love with the sport. When you fell in love with the sport, did you believe in it at the time? I mean, as a young boy, presumably, you had no real concept of doping and drugs in sport, I guess.
I do. I still love the sport, and I still believe in the sport. You know, there's always going to be some bad apples in the bunch. And right now, people are more focused on the bad apples than looking at the good ones and seeing how prosperous we can be in track and field.
It's fair to say, isn't it, that you've taken a fairly high profile with your statements about how sprinting especially should be clean. It's because of a love for the sport, I guess, as well. Don't you sense sometimes, though, that you're fighting a losing battle, or do you think that this is a battle eventually that, I suppose it has to be in the long term, can be won?
If I just have one fan who believes in me, that's all that matters to me. You know, I have to go out there and show the world that I can be a champion. I can go out there and do it clean.
And you have to be clean, and you've never failed a drugs test apart from on one occasion, of course, have you? Tell us a little bit about that.
Well, I've been diagnosed ADD as a young child.
That's attention deficit disorder.
Attention deficit disorder. And there's other one, ADHD, hyperactive disorder. I'm the one who's very calm, cool, you know, laid back, really doesn't really care about much. The other one is very hyperactive, can't sit down, uncontrollable.
So for ADD, there was a treatment, wasn't there? What did you take?
I took Adderall. Adderall is a drug that had chemical compound of amphetamines in it, which I've been taking since 9 years old, before I was even in organized track and field.
Yes.
And I take it all the way to when I was in college. And when I first got into USA track and field, that's when the testing started. And obviously I didn't know what was happening.
Yes, it was at the 2001 Junior National Championships, wasn't it, the test?
Yes, it was.
And you were eventually cleared, I think, by the Court of Arbitration in Sport the following year.
That year, those times that I ran at Junior Nationals was the slowest times I ran all year.
Yeah. So clearly, as far as you're concerned, it certainly didn't enhance your performance. How did it feel, though, to be labelled, as you must have been at the time, a drugs cheat?
It felt like my career was over. It felt like I had nobody on my side. Nobody could trust me. But I think it was a blessing in disguise, for the simple fact it showed who was on my side, who believed in me, and who really stood by me. And from then on, I knew that I had supporters on my side.
Who were those people?
My family, my friends, people who really believed that my athletic ability was a God-given talent, not by drugs.
But there were others who shunned you, I guess? I mean, apart from the fact you were banned, of course, from the track, I mean, there were others who effectively disassociated themselves from you?
Of course, you're always going to have people who are hating on you and shun you for the smallest things. And you always have to live with that. It's like breathing air. You know, you have people who support you and people who hate you.
This would have been your darkest time as an athlete, quite clearly, wouldn't it?
It would have, especially I was very successful in track and field my college career. I just came off running a 1986 collegiate record, 1341 going into the next year. So people still believe that I was on this medication when I wasn't, and I had to go out there the next year and prove to them that I was still a great runner.
Yes. And it must be especially desperate, I suppose, to feel that you're innocent, but to be labelled guilty.
It is, but now it seems like the tables have turned. I'm more of a spokesperson for track and field, and I feel that I can go out there and make a change. I've been through the fire. I know what it feels to be labeled, and I want to help people, understand that there's good sides and there's bad sides.
Do you sense now that the international athletics community believes in you in the way that you believe in yourself?
I think they believe in my character. Of course, athletes come and go. They're a dime a dozen. But if you have someone who has good character and have good morals and wants to help instead of hurt and wants to give back instead of take for all, then you have somebody who can help you.
I mean, you'd accept, of course, that the public generally, whether they're athletics fans or not, feel they have a right to be cynical about a sport which has been through so many bad times. I'm thinking, of course, of when it started, I guess, as a major international story with Ben Johnson back in 1988 at the Seoul Olympics, but also, of course, the more recent Balco scandal. Athletes have to be clean and to be seen to be clean, but you can understand the public cynicism.
I understand, but it's not just track and field. We have baseball, we have football, we have basketball. People who have time and time again tested positive. Baseball has 6 drug tests. You fail 6 drug tests, then you're banned for life. Not in track and field.
So as far as you're concerned, the athletics authorities have got it right in terms of the scrutiny they put their athletes through. And I ask that question because, of course, US track and field has been criticised in the past by no less a person than the boss of the World Anti-Doping Agency, Dick Pound, for being rather lax in monitoring the progress of its athletes.
Well, you really can't point the finger at one person. People know what they're doing when they go out and step on that track. And they choose their destiny at that point in time. They want to go out there and be a cheater, then they're a cheater. And sooner or later they will be caught.
Do you know that there are still people cheating in your sport? I mean, I'm not asking you, of course, to name names, but I suppose what I'm trying to get at is the kind of the rumour mill, which of course affects any sport, that sometimes it must be very difficult to operate within that culture when you know that there are some people, nevertheless, who are still taking shortcuts to success.
I wouldn't know,
Is that right?
I mean, things as, I guess, technology this day and age is so high tech, is you really can't sit here and say, hey, you're taking horse steroids, because things have progressed so much. But at the same time, you really don't focus on that. You go out there and you win your race. You can't come across the line and point fingers like, he beat me because. He beat you because he had a good day. That's all you know.
But you say horse steroids. I mean, in a sense, it raises the question of THG, which was, of course, the steroid previously undetectable that was produced by the Balco laboratory. And whilst athletes like you are quite happy to say, test me anytime, the fact is now that we can't even be sure that an athlete who comes out clean from a test, negative, is still running clean, because there are doubtless some substances out there which are undetectable still.
True. Like I said, it goes back to every sport too. How you know that guy swinging the bat is clean. It was the same drugs in different sports. So we don't know. You just have to go out there and just believe in that athlete.
Do you think then that track and field gets a sort of disproportionate amount of criticism from people like me, I guess, in the media? I mean, that we do focus on sprinting especially, I guess. I mean, the Marion Jones story, for example, the Tim Montgomery story, those two both linked with the Balco scandal, both, of course, denying that they took drugs. But, of course, Montgomery is now suspended. I mean, that particular story, I mean, how does that weigh with you? I mean, does that sit in the past as a kind of means to you not moving forward with the sport and emerging from those days? Or are you happy to kind of move on and regard that as something which is now water under the bridge?
You have to move on. It is water under the bridge. Those athletes are gone. We have new athletes now who are doing great things. And they're young, even younger, and trying to be even better than the ones in the past.
Yes. Are you happy to be rid of them?
Am I happy? I wouldn't say I'm happy to be rid of them. You know, they wasn't a threat to me. But at the same time, for the sport, yes. But for me, I have to focus on my future and my event.
Yes. I mean, track and field is better, effectively. Is that what you're saying, without Montgomery and Jones?
I think it's not for just Montgomery and Jones, but just for athletes in general. It's a breath of fresh air. You know, you have to go out there and just keep moving. You know, you have a new world record holder. You have new champions. You have new people who are dominating the sport.
Mm. As far as the inquiry, in fact, the judicial system, of course, in America is dealing with the Balco inquiry, and there's some kind of plea bargaining going on now with Victor Conte, and it seems that there will be no further evidence given in the trial, and that also has been a matter of regret for Dick Pound at the head of WADA, because he's saying effectively now that we won't actually get to the bottom of the whole affair and who was taking what. Would you like to have seen further names come out, demonstrably showing that there were certain athletes who were implicated in the Balco affair?
I think that'd be more important to you than it is to me. I have to go out there and keep running. That's my focus. And that means that I'm in there in lane 5 by myself and nobody else is on the track, then so be it. But I have to focus on running.
Just one more thought about Balco, because of course your coach, Trevor Graham, was the whistleblower. He was the man, courageously perhaps, who supplied this sample of THG to the authorities, and from that, of course, the Balco affair exploded. And yet, of course, there are some who have a slightly suspicious feel about Trevor Graham. You're happy, you're comfortable with him as your coach, are you?
I am.
Yes.
You know, I have confidence in him, in his coaching ability. He's never offered me anything. He never asked me to take anything. You know, he gets me on the track, he gets me ready to run fast, and I have all confidence in him.
Mm. I mean, I ask you specifically that question because, of course, he used to coach Tim Montgomery, didn't he?
Yes, and Mary Jones as well.
Yes. So you're, in a sense, associated with them via the coach, but you're quite happy that your relationship with Trevor is above board.
Most definitely. I never crossed paths with Tim Montgomery or Mary Jones, athletic-wise, training-wise. When I came to Trevor Graham, it was after this. When the syringe was handed in, it was after. It was before I came, actually. So I had nothing to do with it. So I'm here now, and I'm trying to be the best I can be.
Yes. Well, look, it looks as if you've taken on a pretty heavy burden now, hasn't it? I mean, in terms of taking American sprinting forward and away from those dark days of Balco, what practically can you do? I mean, you're sitting here and talking the talk, which is great and gives American athletics a chance to express itself, the new wave, the new generation of sprinters. Is there anything more you can do in practical terms, do you think?
The key to being a champion is being dominant. You have to go out there like Carl Lewis, win 9 gold medals, Olympic gold medals, 5 world championship medals. That's amazing. Those are the footsteps I want to follow in. That's how I want to be.
And you can do that?
I hope so. I'm young. I still have a lot of goals to set, and I'm in the right path.
Justin Gatlin, thank you very much indeed for joining us on this edition of Extra Time.
Thank you
much
for having me.
appreciated.